Hey there, Safecrackers, get your combinations ready because it is time for the Comic Vault! A vault with a bunch of comics! Turn the dial, shut the door, until we need to take one out, like this. Wolverine, number 56, came out in 2007. That's right. I enjoyed this issue quite a lot. Yeah, as a bunch of Jason Aaron, just a bunch of it. This is Jason Aaron and Howard Chaykin. I get excited when I see Howard Chaykin's name on things. I'll admit that I don't actively seek out a lot of what Chaykin does, but ever since I read The Shadow, Blood and Judgment, that miniseries that he did for, I believe it was DC a while back, I get excited about Howard Chaykin when I see his name on things that I happen to accidentally come across. This was donated to the Comic Vault by my brother, and it is signed by Jason Aaron, so thanks, Vic. Appreciate it. So, this issue, you know, when you get a single issue from the middle of a story arc, I always get just a little, because I don't want to just read a single issue from the middle of a story arc. What fun is that? You don't know what's going on before. You don't know what's going to happen after. You just have this one issue. And I thought, well, forget it. I'll read it anyway. I'll see what it's like, just to see if it stands on its own. And guess what? It does. I'm excited about it. Wolverine 56 stands on its own, and it's really quite good. So the thing about this issue is that it's not from Wolverine's perspective. It's from this guy's perspective, whose name I forget at the moment. But he's some average guy who is basically a security guard, we'll call him that. Within 5 pages, you see some really gruesome stuff. What he does, this man's job, he goes to work every day with his little lunch pail, in his little blue uniform. He goes and he sits down on this big comfy chair, and the comfy chair has a big gun mounted to the front of it, and it's pointing directly into the pit. And in the pit is a really hairy, brutish looking guy, and he is just, the point is that they shoot him so that he is physically incapable of getting out of the pit. They have shifts, it's all the time. They just shoot and shoot and shoot this man. And it becomes very apparent that who the man in the pit is. Of course, if they're just going to keep shooting him, and they do this repeatedly, he has a healing factor. He's brutish, he's hairy, he's not particularly large. It's Wolverine. So, Wolverine is the man in the pit. And these guys just shoot him. Now, there is the premise of this issue is that he's been here for a while. Wolverine doesn't know how he got there. All he knows is that people shoot him. Excuse me, I'll have some tea. English breakfast. So I think it's 9 o'clock at night, but I'm drinking English breakfast. So Wolverine, this issue is really interesting to me because Wolverine gets into somebody's head. I like it when people will, like for example, I like to see Superman invent things. I like to see Wolverine have a little bit of, I like to see him mess with somebody's head. Use the power of speech. Use his mind to get himself out of a situation. He's not just, of course he uses his superpowers a little bit. He uses his super senses. He can smell things and yada yada. I like it when writers will allow their characters to use those lesser known powers, or not even powers, just to use those certain abilities that tend to get overlooked. Well, why is Wolverine such an effective hero? Or killer? Why is Wolverine such an effective whatever he wants to be? Well, it's not just that he has claws, and it's not just that he has a healing factor. There is something to be said about experience. And there is something to be said about somebody who is capable of all those things. If they're not smart enough to learn how to survive, or to learn how to appropriately execute a plan, then and they're not smart enough to effectively form a plan, why would they be as amazingly effective of a killer or a hero or whatever as we expect them to be? So this issue is really all about Wolverine being incapacitated physically and using his mind to get himself out of the situation. This guy, who we see the book's perspective, or is the main character in this particular issue, it's really strange to me how much I end up being interested in him, despite the fact that he's not exactly a good person. You start off and you think that he's a person who just has a bunch of really sad circumstances thrust upon him, which is true. He's a character who I won't really go into it, because I do recommend that you pick up Wolverine 56. I think it's entirely worth reading, even if you don't pick up 55 or 57. 56 is great by itself. So the epilogue doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I'm not reading the stuff around it, but that's just 2 pages out of the entirety of the book. So I find it interesting. Here's this man who his job is to shoot Wolverine. It's so funny to me. He's not in a cage, he's in a pit, and he shows up and he shoots Wolverine. That's what he does. But so here's this man who is kind of a sad sack situation. He's a guy who has a bunch of sad situations thrust upon him, and throughout most of the book you sympathize with him. And then as you progress, you start to realize that there are situations that lead to it. An unhealthy lifestyle, an unhealthy psychology, even if you are externally a nice guy, even if you're externally a neutered character, somebody who is emotionally incapacitated to the point that you can't physically do anything but wake up in the morning, go to work, go home, and just be sad until you fall asleep. These people these people need help. These people, I mean, it's interesting to see somebody suffering in silence, and it's an interesting parallel between Wolverine, a man suffering from being physically tortured, shot repeatedly. Such a funny idea to me, I'm sorry, but he's shot repeatedly. And then we have this guy who is essentially trapped in the same situation. So you have these 2 tortured men staring back and forth at each other. And you say, who is really the captor? Now, that's almost a cliche in of itself, is say, who's really the one being tortured? But personally, I don't care. It's role reversal. That's what I'm saying, is that role reversal can be considered cliche, but I find the parallel to be fascinating here. It's all about how you do things. It's all about making it believable. It's all about making your character interesting, and you sympathize with Wolverine automatically because you know it's Wolverine and you know this is not a situation. The man who hired the gunner is obviously not a good man, because Wolverine is typically a decent person, or at least somebody who doesn't kill for no reason at all. He does kill, but he has reasons. So I find this book to be really interesting, and there are people... There's an interesting idea of justice in this book. Wolverine comes off as really pretty cruel by the end of the book, and that's interesting, considering that he's the one being physically tortured. So, this is entirely worth reading. So guys, Jason Aaron and Howard Chaykin's Wolverine 56. I highly recommend it. Check it out. Anyway, this is Geekvolution. This is also the Comic Vault. This is Vince. Have a good one. We'll catch you later.